Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back again with the second news video of the day, you lucky people. That's because according to MMAfighting.com, Fabrizio Verdum has a meeting with WWE later this week in order to work out some kind of deal where he's aiming to wrestle for WWE and compete in the UFC at the same time. Very ambitious indeed. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with MMA, I have a passing knowledge of it, a casual knowledge of it. Verdum is a 40-year-old Brazilian fighter and a former UFC heavyweight champion. The same title, of course, which was won by Brock Lesnar at one point too. We know him, we love him. We like him, some of us like him. Now, the way I read Verdum's interview made it seem like he was really eager to come across as not taking professional wrestling lightly, but in doing so, totally came across as taking professional wrestling. No, he said basically you have to be well trained to do those jumps in wrestling and also well trained to captivate the audience. He's got that bit right. I mean, there are technically a lot of jumps in wrestling, but you do have to captivate the audience as well. Very important indeed. I think the important thing to note here is that Verdum is 40 years old, and that may mean that he wants to step away from the UFC a little bit. Might realise that he's a little bit over the hill. I don't know how good. I guess heavyweights tend to go on for longer in life, but 40 is quite an age to be competing regularly in the UFC. He might be looking for another source of income. And the other important thing as well is how would this be received? I mean, it's very early days yet, of course, the meeting hasn't even taken place, but how would this be received by the WWE fans? Because it seems like the roster is becoming slowly awash with MMA-style wrestlers. I mean, you've got Brock Lesnar, obviously. Ronda Rousey has, of course, made her debut very recently indeed. Shayna Baszler's on NXT as well. And now if Fabrizio Verdum gets involved, it's going to start looking like a bit of an MMA fest. In other news, I reported earlier today that the Young Bucks had cheekily answered the Bars challenge on Twitter for WrestleMania, saying our date's free then if you haven't got any opponents in the Raw Tag Division. But another challenger has emerged, and it's a team who are who have WWE contracts, which is a step in the right direction. I guess this one's a little bit more likely. The challenge was answered, well, alluded to, I guess. He quote retweeted it by Paul Ellering, of course, the manager of the Authors of Pain down in NXT, where they are former NXT Tag Team Champions and general massive scary men. Very good. They may well end up challenging Sheamus and Cesaro at WrestleMania. It would be a good way of getting them onto the main roster, certainly. It would be a very exciting debut in New Orleans if they were to come out and shockingly challenge Sheamus and Cesaro. But at the same time, if that were to happen, would Paul Ellering be tweeting about it, or would they want to keep it a total secret instead? I'm not too certain, but I think one thing that's clear to say is that it's probably more likely than the Young Bucks doing it. The Young Bucks were very cheeky indeed earlier today, and I'm very cross at them for it. But Authors of Pain versus Sheamus and Cesaro, I can totally see that one happening. Or maybe another tag team in NXT. The Undisputed Era probably haven't been there for that long. Could be Sanity, although they still might not. Authors of Pain seems like a good shout to me. And finally, and forgive me for my lack of knowledge about the new animated series of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which will be premiering soon on Nickelodeon, but John Cena is going to voice one of the villains. He's going to voice one of the villains, so just give me 2 seconds while I Google it for the details, because it's a foreign language to me, honestly, lads. Alchemist Warrior Mutant from the Hidden City. Cena is set to voice Baron Draxum, an alchemist mutant warrior from the Hidden City. I have no idea what that means, but I assume because he's from the Hidden City, that means you can't see him. Because it's John Cena. Apparently this character will debut in the premiere episode of the new series and will continue to appear throughout the series' run of, I think, 24 episodes. Now that is a spoiler in itself. I thought they might kill him off in episode number 1, and you've ruined that. Now I know that he's going over, or at least making a heelish getaway. I love for applying wrestling terms to non-wrestling things. Pass me that gimmick over there. Ha ha ha. I'm one of the boys now. No, I'm not one of the boys. I'm Jack from Cultaholic.com. Thank you very much for watching this video. You can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/cultaholic. You can follow me on Twitter at JackTheJobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic, and never, ever, ever forget, ever, to join us.